Hi, this episode of Stories for Monsters is not sponsored. Instead, I wanted to tell you about Anachronistic, a podcast by my friend Kyle Newbridge and directed by yours truly. Anachronistic follows Neil as he travels the country fixing rifts in time and space, alongside the love of his life, who he knows he'll never end up with. It's a fascinating look at human emotion and decisions, and I hope you enjoy it. Anachronistic is available wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stories for Monsters Episode 10, The Other Country.
The night it all started for me was a new moon. It's always a new moon for these sorts of things. Darkest when Lyra turns her back. The church glorifies the dark Titan moon, basking in the burnt halo of dusk. I always thought it was strange how technically the moon we all usually see, Lyra, wasn't our first. It was just a twisted result. Really, the Lyran Moon, the night desert, the dwellers below the other country are all just results. Maybe the dwellers were on purpose. I'll start with the twins, the desert and the moons. After Erebus created the great magnolias, his sister, Lyralenres, watched as they absorbed all the magic and power of the old gods. This was good. It freed the peoples of every land in the world and ushered in a new era. And so she stayed her hand and let the trees remain. But after absorbing the gods, the trees began to swell with an arcane potency unlike anything that had existed in Terra before. They continued to grow and grow, encasing the ancient cities that they had once freed in thick, twisted wood and bark. Some say that there are still people trapped in there. Others say there's no way anyone could have survived. I honestly don't know the answer. With the advent of the magnolias, magic the entire world over began to act strangely. And the deeper and the further that the roots clawed through the soil, the more unusual and permanent their effects became. Terra was forever changed before anyone even realized, and what used to be impossible should be impossible even by magical standards became no more than garden variety tricks. Take Epic. It was a normal tropical isle, and now it's as if nature just progresses more quickly there. The seasons change with the hours instead of with the months. The sun rises and spring dawns. By noon, the summertime is well underway and the air grows hot and balmy. But later, as the day's end draws near, the leaves rust in yellows and oranges, and by the time twilight passes, frost races from the center of the isle all the way to its edge. Usually winter nights are snowy, but blizzards are all too common, and irresponsible tourists die to the bitter cold each year. This happens every single day there. At the center of the isle is a mountain. Atop the mountain, there's a great magnolia. Water seeps from behind its roots and flows into most of Epic's rivers. Some think that's what changed the people so much. My magic passes so freely through the gates to the rest of Suvi. Many welcomed and enjoyed this change. Those who had previously struggled with magic knew no more bounds. Service magic grew in popularity, and for the academically inclined, entire fields of study opened up overnight. There were several early mages who even tried to harness the Magnolian power by using the flowers and bark in foods and potions, rituals. They fashioned tools, vehicles from its wood, usually to ill effect, except for certain more undesirable enchantments. To the more perceptive, like Lyralenres, these were dangerous and unpredictable changes, fueled by wild and untamed magic being channeled in a way that no one could understand. Erebus hadn't stuck around to explain a single thing that he did. He'd simply confronted the old gods, planted the seeds, and moved on. But Lyralenres watched. She saw it when the people who meddled with her brother's creations continued to deteriorate and transform, even after they were no longer capable of running their experiments. She saw the birth of many creatures we now consider monsters, revenants and ghouls. But most troubling of all, she was the first to notice what else the trees seemed to be conjuring, all on their own. Not in the ground, nor in the forests, nor in the people, but above. The magnolias had drawn the dark moon, the first moon of Atera, dusk. It appeared one night, faint and small, a new sphere that floated perfectly and directly above the place where the night desert is now, in Revelita. Above another great magnolia with the roots from whence water flowed. Not like the waters of Epic, which flowed into rivers as they traversed the isle, nor like waters anyone here had seen before, which meander and emerge into larger bodies before pouring into lakes and seas. This night magnolia was different. Its leaves were black, slick, and shiny like oil. Its bark was hot and scorched, cracked up and ashen like charcoal. Its sap was thick and stickier than that of a normal tree. It could trap and absorb almost any living thing that touched it. much like the old gods themselves. And that ebony ichor was the river that flowed from the tree. Not outward, not toward the sea, but up to the titanic void that grew in the sky with each passing day. It was at this point that Lyralenres confronted Erebus.
Brother, what is this madness?
She demanded, finding him lying beside the night magnolia, watching the growing mass of dusk. It was no longer a small and distant sphere, but a turbulent waste, hanged between the world and the stars.
It's beautiful, don't you think?
You threatened to rob Atera of her beauty, her life. Why?
The god sighed and sat up.
Because it must be so. Atera has been like this for so long.
It won't be like anything if you continue. The life, the magic, will die. For what?
Worlds die, sister. And worlds are born. I will make another country. One of magic that is purer than anything here.
Out of Atera's drained husk.
Perhaps.
Erebus stood, and then he was gone. Lyralenres looked up at the dark giant in the sky, blotting out the stars, knowing she would have to stop her brother before the entire world fell, either to nothingness and void, or into an infinite spiral of chaos magic. She got to work. To unravel his machinations, she would need the right tools, and so she cut her implements from that very tree, the night magnolia. As days and nights passed, she ripped away every single flower and leaf from it, and she wove everything together into a billowing black sail. This alone was not enough to reach dusk, but it was the beginning. Days and nights passed, and she used her godly hands to rend its crooked branches, and she scraped and formed and polished them into oars, a mast, and all manner of other tools she would need. Still, these tools would not get her to dusk. She needed a vessel now. Before she was done, the moon grew dangerously close, and the oceans of the world seethed and churned as she ran out of time. Only nights passed as she chopped down the tree itself, as the world sank into madness, as seasons and time lost meaning, as men prowled like wolves, as blood became the only thing that could quench mother's thirst. Still, Lyralenres worked without sleeping. She dug into the gnarled, cracked flesh of the trunk until she had a fine black ship that could withstand the night river that still hung in the air between her and the sky and dusk. By the time she was ready to leave, the base of the tree was all that remained. a reminder of the black parasite's true form. Its roots were a rotten pit, dark as an abyss, that wormed into a terra only to twist and devour. With her goal steeled, she blessed her ship, and it shone a brilliant silver as she hoisted the mighty vessel into the river and rose across the horizon and the sky to the other country. And even as she sailed upward, Lyralenres scattered her wake and the whole river with her oars. And the dark water of night fell and singed and burnt everything it touched as it rained back to the ground. Still she rose, higher and higher, until she could survey the entirety of a terra. Lyralenres saw the magnolia trees, dotting the lands far and wide, and she knew they already had a stranglehold on a terra's heart, and they would continue to channel and corrupt her lifeblood forever, if given the chance. It was good that she had swept away her wake even now. Dusk's mad grip on a terra loosened, without the night river to connect them. She turned to behold her brother's creation. Up close, Erebus's other country looked like an empty city, and jagged peaks and choppy dark waters, all hewn of obsidian. What seemed a moon from below was a gem cut to contain terrible magics. It was a holding cell and a redistributor of purely twisted enchantment, all at his fingertips. The great magnolias were simple conduits to him, the old gods nothing more than drones to seek out more power. He had used them all as mere pawns, but scattered them impossibly. With this, he really could build another world, and destroy the old one. All he had to do was let dusk continue on its path to a terra. One cataclysmic impact of force and magic would do both jobs for him. She witnessed it all and knew if the magnolias could turn, if they could kill and absorb a mortal with a touch, this insane mass of tangled magic would surely ensnare a god. Lyralenres had fallen for a trap. She had come to the dark magnolia, sailed the night river, and destroyed the way back. Thinking her actions were protective, maybe they were. The connection, the night river's mouth on a terra, was no more. In a desperate bid to remain afloat and in control of her own vessel, to stay visible to the people below, to restore some sanity to the world and to delay dusk, she turned her ship broadside and struck the dark titan, shoving it away into the world's shadow. They say that's her, the silver moon, Lyr. They say her ship still sails what's left of the night river, enough to travel across the sky and see most of the world, but never enough to come back. No one knows if she still patrols among the stars to protect Terra, or if she's just gone mad, if she sleeps, or if she cries. Why else would the moon go dark? They say dusk stays still now to avoid her sight, but perhaps on the nights when she blinks or sleeps or turns away, it creeps a little closer to feed the world's madness. But Lyra never turns away for long. This is how the night desert, with its pitch, ashen sands, came to be, and why the pit at its center is there today. Most of those familiar with the Revelitan landscape take for granted how wretchedly inhospitable the night desert is, even if they don't know its origins. It remains unclaimed by any kingdom in the Empire who consider the place a cursed, unlivable blight. Its black sands continue to absorb all light and magic that touch them, warping and magnifying and corrupting it, but having no place to send the wild arcane energy to. So it stays and pools in the center. The sole inhabitants of the area are mages who have traveled to live in the Vale, a village rooted in the very pit that Lyralenres left behind. It is still lush with insane magic, and to this day they work to harness the power of dusk, or else find another way to reach the other country. Most die, and the rest succumb to the madness. The people there, if they are still people, are those who the underground church refers to as denizens below the other country, even though dusk is no longer visible from the night desert. I know this doesn't make a lot of sense now. Civilization isn't built on war or destruction. Worlds, countries, cities, families, these are not built in ashes. You can't build anything out of ashes. They're built with dreams for a better future, and love is what drives and fuels them to tomorrow. Lyralenres loved the people of Terra, the whole world, and she fought with her life to save everyone. My parents didn't understand that, and neither did the underground church. They believed it would all have to be torn down first. Fenton and Fiametta, though, they did understand. Maybe too well. Maybe they were mad before they left for the Vale. On the very night the werecats told them the same stories I've told you.
Stories for Monsters is a production of Rhetorical Answers. It is written, directed, produced, and primarily voiced by Fable McDaniel. The voice of Lyralenres is Tiahna Bredenkamp. Original music by Rhetorical Answers. Logo art by Newbridge. Special thanks to my patrons, and a big shout out to Adrianne, Cindy, Dariane, Jay, Marilyn, and Tiahna. This would be impossible without your support. Finally, thank you to my players for inspiring me to make such a fantastical world. If you like this and want more information, visit the website at rhetoricallanswers.net. And if you want to help support the show and the music and me making cool new things, please check out patreon.com/answers. Patrons get free stuff, surprises, early ad-free access, prompts, behind-the-scenes peeks at stuff, and their name in the credits. It's loads of fun, but most importantly, patrons are the reason I can even do this at all. And I hope that one day, with enough of you, I'll be able to tackle more ambitious projects and support myself doing this full time. Thanks for listening, and thanks for subscribing. Late. Next time, Finton and Fiametta still seek an Eye of Destiny. Can they change the course of events before time runs out?